It's the big, big conversation.
Welcome back to the show. So, unity in diversity. It's a phrase we've all heard, something we proudly say about Nigeria. But the real question is, how true is it? Are we genuinely united by our differences, or are we simply managing them? Because if we're being honest, tribe and religion still influence so much of our everyday lives, from the way we vote to the jobs we get to even house hunting and relationships. So what should be our strength sometimes feels like a quiet divider. So today we're asking the hard question: are we truly one Nigeria, or are we just coexisting? Is unity in diversity true in its essence, or is it a facade? And it's interesting to see how we actually have, a spread of culture, here, spread of culture, spread of religion, which is, great for a well-balanced conversation. Many times I say how I believe one of the two major problems we have in Nigeria is tribe and religion. And, in addition with poverty is, one of the few things that has been weaponized to pit Nigerians against themselves. I remember social studies from primary school, then government in secondary school, where they will tell you features of this, problems of this, consequences of this, solutions to this would be, say for example, intertribal marriages. You see solutions, trading between these communities and these communities, or how because we're all diverse, there should be unity in diversity. But in practical terms, are we really living out that unity in diversity? Because it seems like the opposite. So I'll start with you, Kauta.
Yes,
wait.
Yeah, it open. I want to start.
I want to start with Kauta, so that you'll be brewing, be brewing on the inside. She's gonna be brewing on the inside. Hold on a bit, because I want Kauta to start, right? Okay. So I mean, we see how tribe and religion are used as a tool. Would you say now it is maybe subtle, or it is now very obvious that, like everybody has accepted that this is what it is, or we're just seeing it in subtle terms and people do not want to accept it for what it is?
I think first we have to understand the components that make up Nigeria in itself. Nigeria is an heterogeneous state with over 250 ethnic groups, and there are so many. It's a very deeply layered conversation when you start to speak to unity and you start to speak to diversity. And I would not want us to just focus on just the cultural differences alone. I think that the issue with unity and diversity in Nigeria, we have come to a position whereby we are just managing the fragmentation. Yes, and I think that is so because we all collectively do not have shared values. We are different. And apart from we not having shared values, we have not come to the table to say this is the shared future we want to have. And it is until we say this is where we are going as a nation, regardless of who speaks what, regardless of who wears what, because we all experience Nigeria differently too. There are so many inequalities that you can see, apart from the language diversity, economic diversity, educational gap, poverty, religious barriers or diversity, among many other diversities that we all have amongst us in Nigeria. The real thing is that all of us together experience it in different folds and in different phases. For instance, and opportunities has now become very geographical. Yes.
Very true.
So if you are from the north, if you are from the this, you see, that idea of the fact that you have to have quota representation here, it now erodes the place of competence. And that is where we are now at the federal level. The fact that now we are now clamoring for zoning. Zoning to say that, oh, when this one does this one this year or for 4 years, let it be zoned away from here to this particular place. All of these things generally erodes the chance to have a competent person in power. And not limited to just that. When you now go to the ministries, departments, and agencies, even schools, you now see some schools telling you that they cannot admit because you are not from a particular region.
Or they've taken all that they can
from that. Access to education is now being, how would I call it now, politicked. There's now politicking with you to access proper quality education. You now even see something as educationally less developed states. How do you now expect that somebody who you have, let's say, admitted based on a very, very low quota, because you just want to give the person access, would also be the person that will compete with those that have, go through the thick and thin to actually get the right, is a qualitative education that they should have. You see, there are many things that are really interwoven in this conversation, but I think that it's because we do not have shared values. I don't want us to limit it to just cultural differences. The issue we have right now is a structural one. It's a structured problem. It's a systemic problem. It's not just a cultural problem. Because when we create systems that says that regardless of wherever it is you are, this is what you should get as a Nigerian. Like national unity should trump ethnic preference. Generally. If we don't get to that point of national orientation, national acceptance that you are a Nigerian and this is what you should get, we'll continue to go back and forth about unity and then diversity. We are different, that we must accept. But how do we now say collectively? We must also accept the fact that right now what we perceive generally is not unity. I say is managed fragmentation. We have decided to just coexist.
In the meantime.
In the meantime, that is just what I see here.
I mean, you've touched on a lot of very vital and obvious, things that we actually experience here in Nigeria. Because the truth is, I would always say it's also a mindset thing. Because the time or the day that you say, okay, let everybody, irrespective of where you're from, let's just come together to agree on something, people would move away from the vision to, how is it going to pay me? You are not my brother, or you're not from where I am. The way they start to think is very little. It's very short-sighted.
All of those things started because we started to play identity politics in the real sense of it. And identity started from the idea of also zoning. Let's zone it here, let's zone it there. And then when you see candidates who are supposed to campaign based on their competency, they come out to say that I am from this place, and that is the reason why you should vote for me. Those things are, it's not just our mindset now. You don't just grow. It's something that you've been exposed to over time. I know parents who will sit their children down to say this to them, feed them with this particular thing. And because what you are exposed to is what you eventually would become.
Of course.
So over time, young children in Nigeria have been exposed to, the bad, the ugly sides of our multifaceted ethnic combinations in the country. And it's the reason why you see us harbor a little bit of, disunity, distrust, mistrust amongst ourselves. And when you start to distrust or not trust somebody, you would not play in a safe way with that person.
You will not be very, that's why I know some people, I will not mention the tribe, but some people say some tribes are very wuru-wuru.
And that we've always heard that from inception. I didn't start hearing that 5 years ago. Since I've been born, I've always been hearing that. And that has actually formed my opinion about those people. Unless you are patient enough, or unless you are very acceptable, you are very tolerant to say, let me deal with somebody the way they've projected themselves to me, and not classify everybody
the stereotype.
Exactly in that particular place to be of that nature. It takes a lot of goodwill, will to say, I want to just deal with this person the way this person has appeared to me.
And patience. Serious patience, which a lot of people might not have. So Chisom, I'll let you come in here. I mean, just like I said, she has touched on many, many things on the realities that we see. We understand that, yes, we have over 250, ethnic groups here in Nigeria. And we even see sometimes the stereotypes or the tribalism or whatnot is even within, like you are all within the same state. You will not say, people from this particular local government, they get as they be. People from particular village, they get as they be. So we're seeing that it's ingrained down to, even the roots. So, I mean, do you, share the same sentiment?
Thank you
where
for
it is,
mentioning the roots.
Yes.
The root is the Berlin Treaty of 1884 to 1885, which was the formal outcome of 14 European nations and the US gathering to establish rules for the partitioning and colonization of Africa. And what did they do? Say they want to prevent war between European powers by requiring physical occupation rather than just trade claims, accelerating the scramble for Africa and the formalization of Britain control over Nigeria. Now, the Berlin Treaty, I don't want to go further because if I continue, so what was the purpose? To manage competition, reduce conflict, establish protocol for European powers occupying African territories. And if you go to really thoroughly research and read this, you find that this thing you call Nigeria was not, it was a trade. It was a business. So everything that has been is in your constitution, sorry to say because that constitution is not favoring a typical Nigerian from any tribe. If you ask me now, Chisom, where are you from? I'll tell you I'm a Nigerian because I want to spare you the details. And I get that for the over 17 years I have lived in Ibadan. Where are you from? I come into your office to have a conversation like a human being. The first thing you ask me is, where are you from? I'll tell you I'm a Nigerian. So that you can understand that your brain convolution is 80%. It did not fully upload or download. I'm sorry to use this, really very, so now, let me leave this conversation because you might need to go back to that treaty.
Berlin Treaty.
Yes, because it's a very important conversation. It was just trade. It was just business. And that made the constitution not to favor a typical farmer in the first instance in his village. It does not allow you claim over your land. Your government will come and take your land because they have full authority. That is where this empowerment started from. Now, let me also give you a bit of, to what happened to the Tutsi and the Hutsi of Rwanda. They were living in harmony. They were dancing naked, half naked. They were happy, doing their normal, everyday life. No Tutsi or Hutsi was afraid or, scared of his brother. They married each other. There was peace in the land. Suddenly, some people came, landed at, in their borders and began to slowly poison their mind against Tutsi. It's not even just Tutsi. I think Twa also is part. So begin to poison. I read a book where a young lady who was 12 years old at the time had to be kept in a room with, I think, other 12 women by their in-law. They stayed there for, I think, 8 months or so. They were drinking their urine. They were living in fear. They were in a very closed, I think 4 by 5 feet room, sitting. Their breathe safe was a big problem because of how much poison a mind can be.
So now, too, if we want to now relate it to the Nigerian context, would we now say, is this something the government can fix, or it would have to be with the people? Because just like, Kauta mentioned, it's been ingrained, from what people grow to learn up until, when they're older and they're working with stereotypes. So now if we want to fix the whole perception of us just dealing with each other for the meantime, is it the government that has a role to play? Or is it now we, the people, that have to rewire ourselves to think of the national picture instead of the individualistic.
So the fragmentation that we have right now as Nigeria is an illusion. Like I had already said. I already said it in the platform. It's an illusion because the foundation, when the foundation is wrong, what can the makeup artists do? That is a favorite quote by one of my friends. Timi Olagunju. What can the makeup artists do? So if you're asking me, if it's the government, is it the people, is it the who? You have the colonial masters, you have the people who they have sent to bring this conversation down to, which is not even a conversation, but a commandment and a charge to the people who are now helpless because they don't even know where to start. I asked you that question. Answer me. Who?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
Well, I think we have to move from what the past have actually really been like, because it's been years after years and after years, and some people have benefited, some people have profited, and I stand to disagree to say that the Constitution is as good as what it is. It's not. I'm a lawyer, so I work on a daily basis with the Constitution, so I know very well that if you're familiar with what is in the Constitution, and there has been several amendments in that Constitution to say that this is where we want to be as people. But I think what has been missing so far is that what understanding do an average Nigerian have about the Constitution itself? Because if we say all of this and say that the Constitution does not benefit an average Nigerian, then we are completely, totally wrong. Because you have to understand it.
You're contradicting yourself.
I'm not contradicting myself. I'm not. I'm simply saying that you just made an assertion that I am trying to correct. The assertion is that the Constitution does not benefit an average Nigerian.
What we need is a revolution.
Are you saying that
what we need is a revolution?
Okay.
Leave the Constitution out of this. Since she cannot answer, I am answering. We need a revolution.
Okay, so
we need to break what is available. Since people don't know the answer, I'm telling you, we need to remove what is there. Let people know what's the treaty, the Berlin Treaty of 1884.
The Berlin Treaty does not have any import.
Most people don't know
it does not have any
No, but most people, let me even tell you something.
The Berlin Treaty,
the kind of education we have in Nigeria currently, most people don't even know what is this where the ships are passing.
Okay. The ports?
No, this one now where they're blocking and closing. I wanted to remember
borders.
Hormuz.
The Hormuz. No,
okay.
I'm just truly, to be honest, I'm just hearing it for the first time.
Okay, so let's bring it back home.
Let's bring it back home. I am coming. The education that we have currently in Nigeria is flawed.
Okay.
People don't. Do you know that most children in schools now don't even know there's a war going on?
Okay. So let's look at it this way, okay? Because I mean, we can spiral out.
A lot of children.
So hold on, we can spiral out of the conversation because there are so many facets to this. But now looking at, because if we start to bring constitution, I mean, she's a lawyer, you would,
We're not talking about, I'm telling her that we need to be honest, we need to break that, we need to
so let's go back
move
to
it
the
to one
question.
side and
let's
start
go back
again.
Let's go back to the question.
Let people even know what is going on. Let people even know what is going on.
Let's go back to the question I initially asked, which is it the role of the government or the people? So now you ask me for me to answer, and before I let Kauta, go in, I would say, I mean, there is a role for everybody to play, or every person to play.
Yes.
I personally feel, because I know I've had my fair share of tribalism experience and, maybe not even as much as religion, but not as much as tribalism. I've not really experienced, in terms of religion, but yes, tribalism. And I could see that it is not really what people up there can solve, but we amongst ourselves have to start in terms of exposure, in terms of education, in terms of parenting. Because the truth is, socialization is one of the very pivotal things of building who an individual is. So if we start to resolve it amongst ourselves, the people they are a bigger number, bigger percentage than people in power. So if we start from ourselves,
by ourselves.
If we start from, that's what I think. That's what I think.
I experienced bigotry during the election.
That's what I said. Everybody has their role.
People that I usually talk to and I smile with and we are cool. I experienced first time in my life, because other times I've been protected by my parents and in my life as an adult, bigotry.
I think bigotry that has been experienced by certain people would be because you have failed to also accept that people should have their opinions. Take their opinions for it and do not try to leave it at that. Do not try to force people to see things the way you see things. We are different. And because I am not seeing it the way you are seeing it, it's not tantamount to you hating me or me hating you. And I think that is the foundation we are trying to establish here. Yeah. The fact that you think you have right to express yourself also means that the other person has right to. These are things that are constitutionally enshrined. It's codified that every human being should have right to expression. So if you say you experience bigotry, I think that is because you fail to accept people also have their own opinion.
Or the person also failed to accept that I have my own opinion, and because the person wants to lord his or her own opinion over mine,
it could have been I can't say that I've experienced bigotry because I leave you at that. I leave you at your opinion. I think the worst mistake you would ever make in life is to think that you can logically change people's opinion.
You can't.
You can't. People would always be what they want to be, and your level of exposure determines what you are, what you feed, what you know, and what you are going to feed the world with. Now, going back to how we can actually, try to eradicate what we have on ground. I do not believe that we cannot do that. It's like a pendulum. It goes back and forth to the people and then to the government, because if the mind is willing, the entire body will be willing. But if you have a sick leadership across all parastatal, I'm talking about the local government, I'm talking about the state government,
which is existing currently.
I'm talking about the federal government. If they are also very sick and they do not have a pathway, every other person will be sick.
Yeah.
Which they clearly don't have right now.
That's it. And it also now boils down to, that's why I say it's a pendulum. It's not tilting to one side than the other side. It is also the people amongst themselves that would say this is the person that would represent us. But what do they have in their arsenal to make that decision to say we have chosen this person out of not ignorance now, but of informed minds to say this is what we want. Not the one of saying, oh, they've given us bag of rice, they've given us, you know, some form of, you know, major empowerment produce or something like that. It has to be properly well thought that this is where we are going as people. Now to the head, you see, the head has a way of shaping what the entire body would look like. And if you cannot think straight, you can't think right. I'm using the part of the body now because that is like, is it a synecdoche now? To say that I'm trying to explain with the part of the body. Your head is where a lot of things happen. Your thought process, everything, apart from the heart pumping blood, which I can say that the hands, the legs are the citizens of the country. But the head has a fundamental role to play. If you say that this is going to be a communist state, it's going to be a communist state. If you say we're going to practice socialism, we are going to practice socialism. And then it now goes to what is the justice system like? You see, this thing is multifaceted. The justice system has to work so that justice is not favoring somebody because of their identity alone or because of where they are from alone. Justice across board is the same for everybody. To say when something happened in the north, the repercussion or whatever is going, the consequences that would happen is the same thing that should happen to somebody in the west. That way you know that, oh yes, if you can't just, it's not something you say as a slogan. Unity is not a slogan. Diversity is not what you just utter. No, it's something that I said is a system, it has to go with structural changes. And when all of these structures change, automatically people will begin to
and they move in line with it.
It's not whether you do Democracy Day, you dedicate one day to say, oh, we are celebrating unity and diversity. That is not it. What is the system like? Is the system designed to say, without you being a colored person, without you being somebody from the east, from the west, from this is what you are entitled to.
The system is flawed.
When that is that's why I said that it is still the people that elect people into local government. These people that are there, they are not aliens. They are people from amongst us. So how do we begin to elect people? And then we are at the eve of election right now. Next year, January, we're going to be having presidential elections and National Assembly election. How many people are even aware that this is going to happen? You know.
So for me, I like where she's landed. It's a good place. I like that she has also come. You know, you cannot really trade from a far place. You have to come close. So now, for me, what has happened? What are people doing? We have people now campaigning, you know, for you to know that it's not rice. If they give you rice now, 4 years you have to understand that poverty is what they are using to you know, ingrain you slowly into more poverty. So now it's not. What has happened is that a lot of people are in this situation where they are, you know, tilting towards things that make them to change their mind because they have to feed. There's a lot of, I know the truth. The truth is supposed to set me free, but I have to feed my family. I have to take care of my responsibilities. So let's leave this truth. Let's leave this unity. Let's forget about this, my brother who I love so much that is from the north, I am from the west. Let me feed my family first. And a lot of other factors which now makes unity in almost, let me not say impossible, but an illusion.
All right, so let's rest it there because we have to go. We're out of time and we still need to do our agree or disagree. But of course, many aspects have been touched here, very, very wide aspects. And I think I'm going to take it from, you know, something you said that it is a structural change, and you know, something I also said, I mean, the people have a role to play, the government has a role to play, and because we're at the eve of, you know, elections,
and knowledge is power. By the time you know what the truth will set you.
This is something I want people to have ingrained, that you're not looking at where this person is from, but you're looking at the bigger picture. Let's not be short-sighted, especially when it comes to national developments. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we get into our agree or disagree, so stay with us. Okay, it's been a fiery conversation so far. I'm sure you can tell as well. But now let's have our agree or disagree. We get to see our statements on the screen. We agree or disagree and defend our answer. We've got just a few minutes before we have to go. So let's see today's statements. We've been talking unity in diversity. People naturally trust those who look and think like them. Agree or disagree. People naturally trust those who look and think like them. Agree or disagree. We've got agree. Chisholm is still thinking, okay, Kafta, you go real quick.
Okay, I'm agreeing with that both statement because when people have shared values with me, I tend to lean towards them than somebody who does not share what I believe in. My belief system is very important to me. Likewise, the values I have. And that's why I said that the problem we basically have is because we do not have shared values. And that is where the distrust comes in from. And because I can trust it because I believe that we have shared values. So people would naturally trust somebody that looks like them and also thinks like them. And, that's just basically it.
Yes. I mean, similarly, I think it's a no-brainer because why would I want to lean towards somebody who looks a lot different or thinks a lot? Because I'm like, it's easier for you to relate with people who share similar values because it's easier to comprehend, it's easier to communicate.
Yes.
But when you have to feel like I have to start to break things down to you, or I have to start, it's too long a process, and not everybody, I might not have the patience for that.
Yes.
So there is similarity, and when there's similarity, it's easier for there to be unity in vision.
To be sarcastic a bit is the reason why when you want to marry somebody, you tell you look for somebody who has similar ideas with you, who you can build a path with. You're not looking at, you're not going to go and pick your polar opposites and say because you want to repair something. You know
they say opposites attract. Now that's what some people use.
It doesn't really work when it comes to you wanting to build a family. You really have to look for your person.
Yeah.
Looking for your person, you are looking at what do we share? How do we think? Do we have shared future that we can build together? And I think that's
Plus,
it.
I would even add, it's not particularly like the person has to be the exact replica of you.
But you agree on so many, core things, and it's fundamental to you. And the person also sees that as very fundamental.
So that way, I mean, you really would just naturally trust them because, I mean, you share this value, I share this value, and it's easier for us to just, be together.
So I hate to burst your bubble.
Bust it.
I hate to burst your bubble, but I would agree for one reason.
Agree.
Yes.
Yeah,
agree. I'm agreeing for one reason. I can't totally disagree.
Okay.
But I am agreeing because I want to drop a lesson or two.
Okay.
And that is in the trust issue, where you put the trust in that conversation. For me, I can like you. I can totally like you because you think and look like me. But
you don't know if you would trust them.
Trust is a big investment. It's a huge investment, which for me, sometimes you can clone. There is a lot of clones out there.
Okay.
Who can think and look like what the perception that is expected, so that thing you want to, like or trust, no like and trust factor, so so what are they going to like? What are they going to trust? Let's give them the clone of what. Just
so you can get
there
the
is something behind that trust. So I would never give my trust, which is a huge investment, to just someone who looks and think like me. There's a bigger test you have to pass. Thank you.
Okay. I get the angle. The angle.
Yeah.
Because I want to say that even this this subtle distrust is also a thing from maybe past experience. Really is because experience will teach you that okay, if this person appears like this, don't trust completely because there could be
the Trojan gift.
There could be something underlying. Let's see our wise words on the web just before we go. Let's see our wise words on the web in addition to all the wise words that we have shared on the table. Okay, Kauta, can you read for us, please?
Okay. We may have different religions, different languages, different colored skin, but we all belong to one human race.
Very
Kofi Annan.
Human at the end of the day.
Amazing. Yes, I think, above all, we should realize that regardless of where you're from, what you do, or, your background, you are first a human. and that should be, priority over everything else. Okay, I mean, it's clear that while unity in diversity sounds beautiful, the real work is in how we live it in our everyday lives. Just like we've established on this table, we're at the eve of elections. We're trying to pick people who would lead this country. We're not supposed to look at where the person is from, but we're supposed to look at competence. We're supposed to look at the future we want to live in. And we're hoping that that is what we bear in mind come 2027 elections. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Kauthar.
Thank you very much
sharing.
for
Thank you,
having me.
Chisom, for being so passionate.
Very, very passionate.
In sharing your thoughts. I mean, it happens sometimes and it's
Yes,
allowed.
yes.
Thank you for joining us on the conversation. Thank you for, tuning in always to see what our big conversation is for the day. Don't forget to be a part of our online community. We have a WhatsApp community now. And of course, you can find us on Instagram. And if you feel like you need to probably rewatch this and rewatch all the fiery conversations we had, then you can find us on YouTube at Dominion Broadcast and also on Facebook. We're going to be going now, but of course, tomorrow is another day. So we'll see you tomorrow in another lovely episode of
The Big Conversation!
Voices rising, stories told, truth unfolding, brave and bold. In this space we speak our mind, different views all intertwined. It's the big conversation where the real ones talk. From the heart of the nation we all take that walk. Through the fire, through the facts we don't hold back. It's the big, big conversation. Voices rising, stories told, truth unfolding, brave and bold. In this space we speak our mind, different views all intertwined. It's the big conversation where the real ones talk. From the